realize I'm the only man who stands between you and your lunch. And I find myself in a very powerful situation here. I know some people are already expecting me to finish, and I must thank Mr. Ankur Gupta for two things. One, for his organization has partly sponsored the event and has made it possible. And second, he made me come on the stage 6 minutes after I should have finished. Thank you for that. They're taking a little while to get my PPT done, but there is this beautiful moment that I find myself in right now, and I'm going to bore you with it. When I got this topic to speak, I started to think of, who is that one principal that I would have wished to become? We've been in schools, we've gone to colleges, I've had the opportunity to travel across the country, speak to a lot of principals, work with them, do trainings. And there was this name that, came in my head, and I smiled. And it's sheer stroke of luck. I come into the hall and I see the man sitting. Dr. R.D. Thakur is there in the audience, sir. You've been my guiding light and my ideal. Sir was the school principal when I was at school. Sir, thank you very much for making me what I am. And it is indeed a pleasure to come back and be with you. He stepped out for a little while, and I started messaging, where has he gone? Because I would really not leave this moment for anything else. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for everything that you've done for me in my life. Can we attract a huge, bigger round of applause? That is what this man has done. And he's not just done it for me, he's done it for countless other people who were in his school. A lot of us remember him by. Sir, thank you very much. I believe as school principals, we get this opportunity. This is working fine? Yeah. We get this opportunity of making a difference and being this one person that can do so much, that can actually just do so much. And I feel that is why this topic is important. I can totally be okay with some people raising hand and saying, what you're saying is not more interesting than the 3 course of lunch that awaits. And I will totally not try to overstay my welcome here. I've been expected to, can we get the PPT back on, please? It's a short PPT. So they're expecting me to speak on school principal end or start of a journey. And we can't really talk of the journey so much till the time we sort of identify how does one become a principal, isn't it? So with a country of 1.25 billion people now, with millions of schools around, can I have some raise of hands of how does one become a principal? How does one become a school principal? The usual routes to becoming a school principal. Come on, most of you are school principals. Right. So you're a teacher, then you're the senior most teacher, then you're the principal. Right? That's one way of getting there. Any other way of becoming a school principal? So one-time teacher, then a middle leader, and then the principal. That's another way of being a principal. Any other way that you can think of being a principal? Yeah, I own the school and I'm the principal.
You can.
Right? Okay, so that's another way of being a principal.
Yeah. You can become an administrator first,
yes,
then get into the teaching,
totally.
Understand children and balance it, because I
right.
understand here everyone, I understand teacher and then principal,
right.
But most of us, teacher and then administrator, maximum time we are doing that.
Right.
And
so teacher, administration or middle leadership and then principal.
Be a teacher who's
right.
different.
Right, or I own the school and I am the principal. Any other way of being a principal?
Be a teacher who's different.
Right, but that is, the route is, you start as a teacher, eventually you end up being a principal. There's another one, and some people will hate me for quoting this. My father-in-law owns the school. Now I am the principal. Or my parents started the school. Now I am the principal. And we wish that there was some formal training, something that existed where I have been in the system, I go do this, I further develop my skill sets, and I now become a principal, and there is some sort of foundation. So, and a lot of us really haven't had that opportunity. So how do we really learn how to be a school principal? Right? Flag of the country, for I feel the school principals are actually more important than the Prime Minister. When the Prime Minister says, अच्छे दिन आएंगे, तो वो आएंगे तो तभी जब स्कूल प्रिंसिपल्स लाएंगे, बिकॉज हम प्राइमरी में संभाल लेते हैं उस बच्चे को, एंड वी गेट दोज 14 years to make or break that child. So, given that I have 12 overstayed minutes, I try and get to the meat of the matter for what, in my opinion, is the opportunity that being a school principal provides us. And I try to do it with 4 simple one-liners. And the first one would be, if you are going to lead those people, that team of teachers that is there with you, your responsibility is there to create that next leader. It is the responsibility of creating that legacy. Because these people are learning from you. You are their only mothership. They will eventually become the kind of principals you are. I've come across some school principals who say, oh, we can delegate so well that we can be missing from the school for a month. In my brain, I'm thinking, well, then why is the school paying you then? I'm not saying that we need to micromanage, but I'm certainly saying we need to micro-monitor. Because those middle leaders are looking at us, and we are the ones who are actually going to tell them, this is probably a better way of doing it. Or invite those ideas of how do you do this better. This is how I have done this all of my life. So we need to be extremely, extremely clear. If we are leading, then we have to lead. And it is not just student, it is leadership of that teacher body. So that primary teacher who joined this year in your school is a future principal. He or she is. And I add he because there are also some he's in primary. Not very many though. Second thing I want to talk about is, so what? None of us have perfect teams. Or is there somebody who would say, I have a perfect team. I have a perfect PRT classroom or PRT staff room, a perfect TGT staff room, and the almost impossible, the perfect PGT staff room. I know this is where the pain area is. No, we don't. No, we don't. And that's also never going to happen. So when we have the situations, the question is, so what? Because that child who's there in my classroom, that is the only opportunity. So it has to be now what? How do I eventually maximize effort from that team? And there is no other way of doing it but to get your hands dirty and be a role model. I asked a school principal, she'd been a school principal for 20 odd years. And I asked her, so how do you go on your school rounds? And she says, you mean the learning walks? So I tried to be, smart. I said, yeah, the same thing. And she says, no, they're not the same thing. A school round is very different from a learning walk. Because when I go to the learning walk, I go sit and listen to that teacher, at least for a short while. When I go on a round, I just see that children are sitting and teacher is standing. So what? Now what? And how do we maximize the potential of our team? For even if you don't have a perfect team, you can create better leaders. Because that person is looking at you and will probably look at a couple of other people as well. 3 minutes to go. Look ahead. Do I have a way to share of what to look ahead? No, I don't. For can I predict, or anybody else in this room predict, what will be the kind of job that a child is going to have who's going to go to work 20 years hence? Anybody who read today's newspaper? There is this article of how Infosys has released 9,000 people over the last year for jobs that got automated. It's a big article. 9,000 people only Infosys released for jobs that were repetitive or lower order thinking because robots are doing them now. Have you heard this phrase called the Kodak Moment? Yeah? Kodak Moment? So 1998, Kodak used to print 85% of all photo quality paper. 85% of photography market was Kodak, 1998. 3 years later, they were filing for bankruptcy and they're bankrupt. Kodak. Ooh. They never thought that could happen. We also remember Nokia. Anybody who's got a Nokia phone now? One person. If the same question 10 years back, maybe one, but everybody else would have been on a Nokia. So this world is changing. There was this talk just a little while back on soft skills. I would want to say life skills. Soft skills are life skills. While this content knowledge that we give to these children is going to be the foundation, but if they do not know what to do with it, I do not need to know anymore what is 13 into 17 into 23. I ask that from my phone and my phone tells me. So maybe that mental math skill is not important so much, but what do I do with the knowledge that I can do? So we need to skill up, we need to look ahead. There are companies here that talk about automating learning. And the gentleman was being very kind when he said, well, automation is never going to replace teacher. I would want to correct him. I would say the teacher who uses technology will probably replace the teacher who doesn't. And we are going to see that happen in our lifetime. Some of us as principals, some of us as director principals. But by the time we are bidding our farewell, we don't want to be this outdated Kodak camera. We want to look ahead and try and learn from it. So while we might banish some of these ideas or more of these innovative ideas that these companies are talking about, maybe there is some merit in them. And I'd recommend that you go around, visit those stalls with that thought that is there really something that they have figured out that maybe I haven't, because my job is an operations job. I get into school and I do not know when the day gets over. And many a times I don't get time to have my lunch, an activity that would only take me 3 minutes. So maybe there is something cooking there and we need to look ahead. This is my favorite one, as unconditional love. I have to remind us, see, most of us went to schools where we were children of one person earning and a stay-at-home mother. Most of us came from those families. There was a mother at home, and there was that connect that the child had. In our school, there was this child, not long while back, the child was unwell. We called up the mother, said, your child's unwell, can you come and pick up the child? And the mother says, call the father. We called the father said the same thing. We have a lot of children in our school where their parents are busy making that lifestyle possible for their children and their families, and there is no mother at home. These kids are lost. The only motivation or role modeling that is happening to them is happening from Salman Khan in Big Boss. And it's very real when sometimes we brand or label a child and the child now gets excluded. Child would then end up changing 1, 2, maybe 3, 4 schools by the time the child's out. There has to be somebody looking out for that child, because that child is the future that we behold. I think of everything that we do as school leaders. Everything that we do as school leaders, this unconditional love is the most important aspect that we need to do to the students, to our teacher body, and I'm not saying you let your PGT staff room run free. But this unconditional love is, I think, the most important thing that we need to put in as an ethos to create those mentors for those children. I see most of the people here, there is a majority of females in the room. I say this as a male student who's been through 14 years of school. We don't find a lot of role models in the school. I think girls have it slightly easy. They're able to find somebody who say, you know what, I want to be like this teacher. But men are increasingly becoming rarer and rarer and rarer. I think we are rarer than tigers in this country. Help us find role models. It'll do us well. This country needs you, and you are the only people who's going to bring about Achhe. Thank you very much for doing what you do. I say that on behalf of students and teachers too. Thank you. I think lunch is served now, but I would let DL do that announcement. Thank you. Thank you once again. Thank you for not moving out as well.
Thank you so much, sir. I don't think it was that, people were actually listening to you, and thank you for having such a simple presentation but so descriptive, and everybody was paying attention what you were saying, and you were telling the ground reality here. So I'm sure we can have another round of applause for sir for giving such a nice presentation. And I will request Ms. Seema to please come on stage and give a token of thank you to Mr. Arunabh Singh, Director, Nehru World School. Everybody must have received feedback forms in their media kit. Please fill that form and you can submit back to the reception, or one of our colleagues will come to your desk and take all the feedback forms. Please do fill that form. It's really important for us to know your feedback.